Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for taking the time to testify today. I agree with you, Chairman Duncan, with your opening statement that we still have important work to do here in this committee. Building the infrastructure to keep energy costs low for all Americans should be a priority for Congress, and there are some very real challenges in that regard for this committee to consider. I don't think this hearing is getting us there. It feels a little bit more like campaign season in here and a lot of political talking points. I don't think that's useful, but I do think we should devote serious time and consideration to moving permitting reform legislation and other serious policy. So I hope we will have the opportunity to do that in this Congress. As you know, my constituents in Houston have a lot to say about energy issues, and we have found common ground, Mr. Chairman, on a lot of issues. But what I worry about and what I see and hear over and over and over, including this hearing today, is the effort to politicize energy issues and make them about politics rather than policy. And that's incredibly dangerous. So I want to lay out a few facts to inform this discussion, but before I do that, I do want to note something that you said in your testimony today, Mrs. Onwuka, that you are representing women who value personal liberty, and I would note that I'm sure you would agree with me then, that when we're talking about the economic well-being of women in this country, access to reproductive health care and the ability for women to make their own decisions about whether, when, and how to have and grow their families is paramount, and that the policies in states like mine that they have put in place to restrict access to reproductive health care, to put the government between women and their doctors, and proposals to eliminate access to birth control are devastating for women on all the measures that you mentioned in your testimony: freedom, opportunity, and well-being. So, Mr. Chairman, I have a report from the Joint Economic Committee that I would like to submit for the record on this issue before I return to this subcommittee's focus on energy.
Without objections, order.
And then I want to take us back to a few energy issues and set out some important facts. At the end of 2019, the United States hit a new monthly peak for domestic crude oil production at just under 13 million barrels a day. More than 800 oil and gas rigs were up and operating and drilling here in the United States. When the pandemic hit, upstream oil and gas production collapsed under unprecedented demand destruction. At one point, WTI crude oil was trading at less than $0 a barrel. So comparing the price of gasoline during the height of the pandemic, when travel was at a standstill, to today, when we just had a record-breaking summer for vacation spending, is disingenuous. Under the Biden-Harris administration, crude production has again returned to record highs, more than 13 million barrels a day for the 2024 calendar year. And U.S. energy exports in 2023 were also the highest on record. Now, I heard you say earlier, Mr. Chairman, that this is a carryover from prior administrations, and it is true that the Obama administration lifted the crude oil export ban with this Congress, and other administrations conducted lease sales and other things that have led to the production that we're seeing today. But let's not forget where we were at the beginning of 2021 when the Biden-Harris administration began, and where we are today, and focus on policies that can help us address the real issues facing Americans. Gas prices are currently averaging $3.29 a gallon and continue to move downward. They're facing downward pressures, and analysts think that it's going to go below $3 a gallon this fall. WTI crude prices hit a 3-year low yesterday, falling to $66 a barrel, as Mr. Palmer just mentioned. And when it comes to home energy prices, the Inflation Reduction Act is expected to save American families up to $38 billion on their electric bills in the next 6 years. The investments in the IRA will continue to build our energy economy and create new jobs across the country. It's expanding sources of energy, which is important, as we know in this committee that energy demand is continuing to grow. So there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information out there. I know that groups have found that there have been nearly $500 billion in new funding announced for clean energy funding over the period preceding the IRA. These investments are going to continue to lower energy prices in the coming years. But not everyone thinks we should continue these investments. And what we're seeing is that the Project 2025 calls for a future Trump administration, if it comes into being, to push for legislation to repeal dozens of credits and tax breaks for green energy companies in the Inflation Reduction Act. My constituents in Texas in the traditional energy space as well as in the innovation space are working with the IRA, not against it. And they are counting on the incentives in the IRA when they are making business decisions today. Across the board, they want reliable, durable policy to inform their decision-making about their investments for short and long-term strategies. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask Mr. Higgins for the record, and I will submit it in writing, to just talk about what a repeal of the IRA would mean as Project 2025 proposes and what that would mean for domestic energy investment in the United States. And since that took all my time, I will yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.